Welcome to Coders Talk, episode 5. We're here today with Taylor Sam. He also went to a boot camp, so we'll talk about that a little bit today. And let's start off with, how did you get into coding?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm going to bring it back just a little to college, I guess. So I actually have a bachelor's in sociology. So I didn't go to the tech route at all when I was younger. It's been 5 years since graduating. And, during that time, I've had a lot of just odd jobs. I used to work in a university as a staff member at UOP, which is in Stockton. And I was trying to get my footing in there and my role in there, and I just couldn't quite feel like that was the career that I wanted. And I did a lot of other things. The most recent thing before becoming a web developer was I was a behavior interventionist. So that's working with children with autism and adults. So I did therapy in the home, school, and the center that I worked in. And that was quite enjoyable, just working with children. But I just didn't feel like it was the career for me throughout my lifetime, because that's its own track as well. And so I actually got accepted into a master's in counseling.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And that was that point when I was thinking to myself, is this the career I want? Is this the route I wanted to go through? And I was looking at all of the requirements, the years necessary, the training, and reflecting personally, I decided it wasn't the route I wanted to get going. And so I spoke to some of my friends who were electrical engineers, and they have some amazing careers. And just listening to their conversations, sparked a lot of interest in me. And they seemed very, very excited in their life and the technologies and where things were going. And I was like, man, I don't have that yet.
In your career,
right. And I was just basically going on a path of settling in certain careers. But after listening to my friends talk about it, I decided, this could be something I could do as well. This is something that I can get into. And it didn't matter if I had a degree in something else. Life is a journey. So I decided to at first try to get into electrical engineering. And I realized, whoa, that's going to be hard with a second bachelor's.
Where you were trying to get formal education in electrical engineering.
Exactly, going back to school and going through the route. And long story short, I did all the research and I was like, whoa, that's going to take 4 or 5 more years.
Oh my gosh,
And I just don't have that kind of time and money. And so I still wanted to do something in tech. And doing my own research, web development has become one of the biggest trending fields.
For sure.
And it got me excited reading about ways to get into this career. You could be a self-taught person, you could go to boot camp, you could, computer science degree. And so, I was skeptical at first, reading all of these testimonies of people who are doing it after 3-6 months or whatnot. And it's actually really legit. I've spoken to people and they've done it, and so that's the reason why I decided to just jump on board and make this a career that I could be yes, I'm actually passionate about it. So that's the journey.
That's so cool. And you went to DevMountain bootcamp, and that's in Utah, right?
Exactly.
So did you fly out there and just live there for 3 months?
I actually drove there. So
oh, really?
Packed everything, 11-hour drive. There are a bunch of boot camps in California.
There are.
And I chose DevMountain because of there's a lot of videos about DevMountain, people who've gone through it. There's a website, I think Course Report, that lists a bunch of different boot camps, and the tech they have, React, Node, those are things I wanted to learn. And also they have free housing. That was big for me.
Oh, it comes with a tuition?
It comes with the tuition. So
oh my gosh.
That was a big motivator for me. Because, going to the Bay, you
have to pay.
On top of the cost of the boot camp. So, those were the factors I weighed in. And I chose DevMountain, and it's been really, really great.
Oh, that's cool. And it was a 3-month program, right? Not
Yeah.
6 months.
It was a 3-month program.
Yeah.
And it's full time. They have a full time, like full stack web development course, and that's like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and they're gonna be teaching you throughout the whole week, 40 hours minimum, and they stress that doing the minimum, you're gonna get the minimum. So they always push people to stay on campus, put in the hours afterwards, because that's what's gonna make you successful. Yeah. And so I stayed on campus maybe 50, sometimes 60 hours, after the minimum, just to keep on working on the projects they gave us. Gosh. And, a lot of other folks did too. And those are the ones who were successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree that putting in a lot more than the bare minimum is so required, especially if you're cramming so much into such short amount of time.
Right.
Yeah. Traditionally, I think with boot camps, there are like 2 tracks. There's like a 3-month, which is full time, and then there's 6-month, which is part time. That's what I did. Right. But how was it exhausting to be doing it 40 hours a week? How was it just plunging in?
That first week was totally exhausting. I remember that first day, I was so nervous, just like, what am I going to learn? Am I is this for me? And I felt like, I'm getting myself into this really intense program. They always say that it's like trying to drink from a fire hose. Like they're just
I've heard that.
Move on. And, I had roommates who were from Indiana, from Virginia, from Modesto. Like we were all in the same boat, and we were all just like nervous and excited, and it was hard, but we were just so into it. Like we were passionate about it, and we were having fun. Like that's what kept us going. And I feel like doing it full time kept me focused, because coding is hard. Like you have to like learn the material but apply it. So like that first 9 to 12, we were in a lecture. So they taught us, and they had an instructor talk about the topic of the day. Yeah. And then the next 1 to 5, we had a 1-hour break. We actually had projects that we pulled from GitHub that they all had, and we had to like basically work on what we learned. Oh wow! So we had every day like at least 4 hours of our own personal time to work on it in class. Okay. So that helped like solidify a lot of things. Yeah. And, like for me, I think it would have been very hard to do like a part-time, and you have to like do certain days, and just like some people only have that option, obviously. And I think that's harder in a sense,
In some ways, yeah. It was like a continuous thing to keep myself motivated, for sure, because there were so many times when I didn't really know what to work on. Right. But you had more like guidance and like structured time for it. Exactly. Yeah, we had to figure out like how much time we're going to allocate outside of class, and when we were going to spend that time. Yeah. And I see how hard that is. So I feel very fortunate going to DevMountain. I definitely enjoyed the boot camp that I went to. They were very helpful. A lot of the mentors, like we had an instructor and 3 mentors. Oh, okay. And, are they like TAs kind of? Yeah. Okay. And they were graduates from past cohorts. Yeah. And so they know everything. They're also trained on certain like JavaScript advanced stuff, and everyone's given a chance to become a mentor if they wanted to. And I think like that's the best way to continue learning. Yeah. And I still talk to some of the mentors. Like some of my classmates became mentors. Oh, cool. And they're still teaching other really students. Awesome. And so it's like a collaborative learning process. One thing I did love about my bootcamp was that in the morning between 9 o'clock, we had a session where it was a topic of the day. A mentor from any of the cohorts was going to teach like Flexbox or CSS Grid or how to use Node, and it was optional. It was like anyone could come to it. We have a schedule, and this is what we were going to teach for that 30-45 minutes. Oh wow. Yeah, very cool. And that was awesome. I went to a few. So you mentioned a little bit about the technologies that you worked with at the bootcamp, and it was like a PERN Stack, right?
It's called the PERN Stack.
PERN?
So, yes, yes.
Okay.
the same thing. I think the MERN is, M stands for MySQL or MongoDB.
Mongo, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I use Postgres SQL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So relational database.
Cool.
So yeah, PERN. Let's say React, Node, Express, and Postgres SQL. That's the stack that they teach us.
Cool.
And they also taught us Angular JS when I was there.
Oh, really? You guys learned Angular too?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was like
that's cool.
That's what they taught. Like I think 2 cohorts before me. Like that was the main stack, Angular, but then they switched to React. So they're always changing based on what's popular and also what's the industry moving towards. And we learned about maybe 3 days or 4 days of Angular JS just to get familiarized and you know, if someone gets a job in it, move forward in that stack. So that was really cool.
Did you touch Vue at all, or
no, I didn't touch Vue. I've heard a lot about it. A lot of people talked about it.
Yeah.
In bootcamp, and I hear lots of great things.
Oh yeah.
A combination of Angular JS, Angular 2, and like React.
Oh, cool.
But I haven't really seen very much of it.
Very much. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, some people go down the track and they just kind of like stay with the same technologies and they get really good at them. Are you more interested in like honing your skills more in the technologies that you've already learned, or are you interested in like experimenting with other different technologies and maybe even veering off the PERN stack?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, being quite new, I guess I want to stay in React just because I'm biased and I know it, and it's like sexy, you know.
Yeah, it's the new thing.
Yeah, it's fun. But I know that as a developer, if you want to be a successful developer, you can't really close yourself off to learning other things. Yeah. So I personally started learning PHP.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because like it's been around quite a long time, and it's an easier language to learn comparatively to others like Java. I've heard it's a little bit more difficult. And I want to learn like Laravel because that's like the PHP framework that's awesome. Yeah. And so I haven't closed myself off. Definitely not. Okay, cool. And when I graduated from DevMountain, my first developer job, I actually got a call back from the school director. Yeah, he's a senior director, 6-7 years as a developer, and he wanted me to be on a React Native team. Yeah. So React Native, it's a framework to build mobile apps, and so for iOS and Android. And I didn't know React Native, and I said, yeah, let's do it. I'll learn it, and
very cool. Yeah.
And so I learned it. I took some courses. First thing I noticed was there's no HTML and CSS. Like I was like, what? Wait. Yeah. And then there's a way to style, and it's I knew React, so that helped out. Oh yeah. That definitely helped out. And at first I was like, I did not like this because of the things I didn't know, but I think that's normal. Yeah. Once you get comfortable doing it, then that's fine. It was setting up the development emulator with Android was kind of a pain at first, and a lot of people also had pain. It's still like pretty new React Native, so documentation still has to change. But after getting comfortable with it, I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. React Native is pretty cool. I could build a mobile app for Android and iOS in one code base. Yeah. All I need to know is JavaScript. And maybe a little bit of tinkering in iOS and a little bit of tinkering of Java. Yeah. But like 90 to 95% of the code is the same. Yeah. And then you just gotta manipulate the other stuff. And you only have to deal with mobile views, which is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, web development, you gotta deal with all of it. All of the iPad size, everything. When I worked in my first contract job, it was a 7-week contract. We just had to focus on that view, and that was really, in a sense, easier
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it was fun. I was on a team of 3 of other graduates, and we built it out for a client. And now that company hired one of my teammates to join the team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
He's working full time with them.
Wow.
And they were very impressed with our work. And my other teammate got a job in his LDS church community.
Oh, that's so cool.
As a developer.
Yeah.
And
that's
now,
awesome.
I'm back in California where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to be doing an internship, a web development internship.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, with a company. And I'm also working as a side contract, doing React, fixing bugs for a company in Utah, but I'm working remotely.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
And you were talking a bit about like how awesome your team was because you're working off of a Windows computer.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, so React Native, if you want to do React Native, it's best to use a Mac because you have to manipulate some Xcode. Xcode is all Mac. You can't use Xcode in PC. Yeah. So basically, I was bottlenecking the team with my PC.
Oh no!
But like we worked through it. I basically was the Android developer, so I had the Android emulator on my screen. They had their iOS, and if I did anything that like brought in libraries from outside, it would have to be linked up to our app. But I couldn't do any of that linking in Xcode, so it was just really good communication with my teammates. And they were awesome. Like the 2 other guys were very good in what they'd done. So one of them was really good at backend. So he was like a master in SQL. He enjoyed it. He loves it. And he just took care of the backend. The other guy was like CSS styling. That was his favorite thing to do. So he made the screens and designed it. And I was like the middleman. I would connect all the data from the backend to the front end. So like we all had our strengths, and it just worked out awesome.
That's really cool. Were they conscious of your strengths at the time where they were finding the team?
I know. I asked the same question because I don't know the decision based on who they wanted on their team. But during our coding bootcamp, they tracked us with our progress. We had to present our projects in front of like 100 eyes.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, like the whole campus would tune into our projects. We would present it in front of like 100
I love that
people.
actually.
Yeah, and we would talk about our stack, our technologies, our struggles, and like show off our project in front of class. And then the director would take notes. He would, see things in students, and sometimes he would recommend them to jobs, based on their performance. So I'm guessing I did really well during the boot camp because I was all the way in California when he reached out to me. There are a bunch of local people in Utah. Yeah. So he could have picked any one of those folks. But he reached out to me, so I'm very thankful. I'm very happy. So I packed up my stuff and just drove all the way back to Utah in a week's time. Yeah. And just
11 hours, right?
Yeah, and
that's insane. Oh my gosh.
It's grinding. You have to grind in this field.
Just to ask you a couple more questions about your DevMountain bootcamp. How many people were in your cohort?
So my cohort, there were about 27 folks within that cohort.
Yeah, and how many of those were like women?
From what I remember, I think there were about like 6 ladies. Yeah. Which was actually a larger amount of females in my cohort because the other cohorts, there was like mostly male. Like.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So the way it works in DevMountain, there's about like 3 cohorts going at the same time, and they have like different rooms for their what week they're in. So there was always 3 cohorts going on, and my cohort had about 6. It's still obviously not a lot compared to the male members, but they work just as hard as us, and I followed them, my classmates, and they've gotten jobs. They've gotten their careers, and they're pushing forward, and I think the diversity is definitely needed within this industry.
Much more. Yeah.
And when I returned back, to do my contract with the school, I definitely saw more females too as well.
Yeah, awesome.
So women coders,
yes,
get in this field.
Yeah, if you want to do it. I came from an English background, so anyone can do this. Really, you don't have to. You don't have to know anything about computers, really. You just have to want to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so cool. We had about 30 students, and then 7 of those were women.
Okay.
And it was really cool having other women in the class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like about the same ratio.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, cool. So when you go to a boot camp, you always are so happy about graduating, but then you're kind of like, ooh, what do I do now? Can you go through like the process of you finishing up your boot camp and then just kind of like having it cut off and just having to move on with your life?
Yeah. So, when you're in a boot camp, you're kind of being held, your hands being held, because they're telling you what to work on. You're telling you what tech stack to work on, and then you're free to go. And my bootcamp definitely helped with career building and like preparing us, looking through our resumes, looking through our LinkedIn profile, our portfolios. So they got us prepared for that.
Yeah.
And they definitely told us that, it might take 3 to 6 months to get your first job. And so you have to be prepared to wait a little, because with any new career, it's going to be hard to get that first job.
Yeah.
You're brand new. You can't expect to just find a job immediately. And if you have that connection, and some people definitely did. Yeah. They definitely got that. So just be patient, and also what I did was, you don't stop working. You don't stop grinding and coding and learning. And so what I did was continuously read up about developments in field. So I read about React updates like 16.3. They introduced like a new way of state management, like that's built in.
Context.
Exactly, context API. So if you didn't keep up with it, you wouldn't have known about it. And then I actually, when I worked my first contract, I saw context API being used. And if I didn't kept up, I would be so lost and confused. But I knew right away, this is this is part of that code. Yeah. So you should be keeping up with YouTubers who are in web development. Traversify Media.
Traversy. I love him.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
I love him.
Totally humble and keeps you grounded. And then there's TechSoup. There's a lot, and podcasts as well help out. There were some folks, who complained that they didn't get a job afterwards. After boot camps, and then you got to really ask, what have you been doing this whole time? Have you been coding? Have you started another project? No. Oh, well, employers will notice that. They're going to look through your GitHub profile to see if you're actually putting code on there.
Yeah.
So you have to keep on learning and pushing yourself. And also applying to job postings on Indeed and Monster and all these other websites, that's not as effective compared to reaching out to real people. And the way you would do that is, reach out to people on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to add recruiters and senior developers. Just send a message saying, hey, I'm new to this field. I want to learn. Let's talk. I want to learn from you. Yeah. And just start building relationships. And it's kind of scary at first, because
that is true.
It's a little scary, but that's what LinkedIn is made for. It's made to build connections. And I've had interviews because of doing that. I saw a job posting, I applied for it, and I saw the contact information. I saw the name of the recruiter, and I immediately went to LinkedIn and sent him a message saying, hey, I'm a web developer. This is what I do. I really want to talk to you. Can we, get this going? And she say, hey, let's have you talk to the senior director. So that's how I got one interview. And also you should join meetups. Like, so this is how we met. We went to
exactly.
meetups. And I went up to the facilitators of certain meetups and I'd say, hey, I just graduated. I know this and that. I would really love to talk more about any connections or companies, and they offered an interview as well. So so you have to be proactive in your job search after a boot camp, and you also have to just keep on hustling and grinding. Don't stop. Boot camp is a great way to get learning and get that information in a very structured way, but it's not a guarantee for a job. That's all dependent on how you operate afterwards. Yeah.
True. And one way that I plan to do that is through blog posts and things like this, like YouTube. Do you have anything that you're kind of presenting employers to? Like you talked about GitHub a little bit. What can you do like solid action wise to kind of display that you're super invested in this field and you want to learn more?
Right. So every developer who's a web developer should have their own portfolio with projects. And it shouldn't be a Wix website or builder. I made that mistake at first. So I made a Wix website and I had real projects, real web applications, and I put it on a Wix website. But the common thing I was asked by other developers who I just made connections with was, why do you have a Wix website? You're a developer. That's
I even asked you that. Yeah.
So I was like, it was the quickest way to get a portfolio, but you're right. So I decided I'm going to build it from scratch using React, using the tech that I knew. And and you make it look good. And also, your question was how to, present yourself out and show yourself out there. Doing exactly what you're doing. So like this vlog that you're doing is awesome. It's going to be, it shows that you're passionate. It shows that you're invested, and that's what recruiters and companies want. They want people who are passionate and invested. So you, like I said, create a website, put your portfolio projects on there, GitHub, put code up on there, get on LinkedIn, talk about code, write little messages here and there. I personally don't do that, but I read a lot of other people's messages, and that's awesome. There's a lot of ways that you can put yourself out there.
So many things. And even if you come from different types of backgrounds, like leverage that. Like I come from a writing background, so when I write, I'm putting my energy in the writing and the web development. So you can definitely leverage your strengths.
Right, that's awesome.
And it's good to also be consistent on GitHub. Like I pay attention to the little green boxes.
Right. You miss one day, you're like, there's an empty box. I did code, but I didn't push it. I've had those moments.
Throughout our 6-month boot camp, they advised us to have at least 200 commits by the time we were done. Did they have some sort of like gauge for you?
No, they didn't.
Not really.
Not for GitHub. We pushed every single day. We were there every single day.
Oh, great.
So like we didn't think about it.
Second nature.
They just encourage us to push. Keep pushing your work. Push at least twice a day. Especially because you might have not, your computer might get corrupted or whatnot. So it's safe to do that.
Yes. Not hard lesson learned. I'm really good at committing my code. So about like halfway through the boot camp, I accidentally spilled tea into my motherboard and fried my computer.
Damn, that sucks.
But I had all of my code.
Okay.
And I just pulled it from GitHub and everything was totally fine.
Yes. So. And that's what GitHub's for. Those tea spills and coffee spills. Yeah, exactly. So that was super helpful. So don't forget to commit and push. Yep, there you go.